I don't care if it rains or freezes, as long as I've got my plastic Jesus riding on the dashboard of my car. You can buy pink and pleasant clothes and turkeys, phosphorus and plastic Jesus. You will take me far.
So far during this election season, it seems that all the Republican candidates are trying to show off how pious they are. It also seems that they keep making the claim that America is a Christian nation. As I explained in a much older video, linked down below, the question of whether America is a Christian nation is actually a horrible question. It needs to be broken down into three questions. Is America a nation of Christians? Was America founded by Christians? Is our system of government based on Christianity? The answer to the first question is yes and no. America is a nation of Christians, but it's also a nation of Jews, Hindus, Shintos, polytheists, atheists, Wiccans, and every other religion that you could conceive of. Was America founded by Christians? Again, yes and no. It was founded by Christians, deists, atheists, Jews, and several other flavors of religion. Finally, is our system of government based on Christianity? That question is simple. Absolutely not. It's fairly evident to anybody that ever read the Constitution that the Founding Fathers didn't want religious organizations mucking about in our government. However, many Christian revisionists are desperately trying to rewrite history to say that it is. Most of them like to bring up the part about all men being endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, but they bring this up without realizing that it's in the Declaration of Independence. The Mudbrooker recently made a video about this, so I won't go into detail about it. Instead, I'll put a link down in my pants. Instead, I want to talk about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the other amendments to the Constitution, since those are the actual legal documents that govern this country. The very first thing we need to establish is that the Constitution and its amendments establish the rules for the government. They do not apply to private citizens or businesses. Even the amendments that seem to apply to private citizens are rules saying that the government cannot infringe upon the rights of certain groups of citizens, like women, African Americans, etc. So let's start comparing. First, let's look at what the Christian Bible is. According to Christians, it's a set of instructions on what you can and can't do if you don't want to be punished for all eternity, handed down from an almighty deity. This book is supposed to tell you what you can and can't do in public, what you can and can't do in private, what you can and can't do in your own bedroom, what you can and can't say, and even what you can and can't think. Compare that to the Constitution, which only tells the government how it is supposed to run. In fact, the only place in the actual Constitution where religion is mentioned is in Article 6, Section 3, where it says, "No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States." That simple part of a sentence tells us that the framers of the Constitution did not want some religious zealots taking over the government and forcing people to prove that they are believers in one God over another if they want to hold an office or be a government employee. If the Founding Fathers really wanted to base our laws on the Bible, then why would they make a specific rule that forbid them from only allowing Christians to serve in the government? Next, let's look at the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment says, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances." All we need to compare this to is the Ten Commandments. The first commandment says that there is only one God, and the Christian God is it. He's the Neo of the supernatural world, the One. This is in direct contradiction with the first sentence of the First Amendment. The First Commandment says that you will not worship any other gods, period. If you do, you're done. Fire and brimstone for all eternity. The next two commandments say that you can't make any graven images or likenesses, and that you can't take the Lord's name in vain. This is way different than the Second Amendment, or the second sentence of the First Amendment. According to the framers of the Constitution, you can say whatever you like. The Supreme Court decided years later that the freedom of speech also extends to drawings and other art. The Fourth Commandment says that you have to remember the Sabbath. The Constitution does not say anywhere that you have to not work on Saturday or Sunday. The next 6 commandments deal with social issues. The 5th says that you shall honor your father and mother. Nothing in the Constitution about not talking back to your folks. The 6th says that you shall not murder. Of course, the United States has laws against murder, but then again, so does every other society in the world. Even primitive tribes that have never heard of Christianity have rules prohibiting murder. So we can safely assume that this is a catch-all. The same goes for not stealing, the 8th commandment, and not giving false testimony, the 9th commandment. When any group of people live together, they need rules to abide by. When people murder others, steal from others, or lie under oath about them, the societal bonds begin to break down. So it stands to reason that every society would have punishments to carry out against people who break those rules. But these laws aren't mentioned anywhere in the Constitution. In fact, they were in place even before the Constitution was written. They were carryovers from the colonial rule. And finally, there's the 7th and 10th commandments. You shall not commit adultery or covet your neighbor's stuff. There are no rules, at least enforceable rules, about committing adultery. Sure, there are civil ramifications for committing adultery. It can be grounds for divorce and can cost you a whole bunch of money in the divorce proceedings. But you can't be punished criminally for it. As for coveting your neighbor's belongings, isn't that kind of what the whole capitalist thing is about? You see something you desire, so you work to get it, or something just like it, or better. When you look at the Constitution, it gives rights to people that the Bible says have no rights. The 4th Amendment guarantees people the right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure, unlike the Bible, which has been the basis for such violations of freedom as the Inquisition and the Salem witch trials, as well as numerous other injustices. The 6th Amendment guarantees you the right to a fair trial, unlike religion, which says that you get no such trial from God. The Constitution is the document that gives rights to people. Those rights are guaranteed by the Constitution. It keeps government from becoming too much like a religion and making summary judgments against people. The Bible does no such thing. The Bible is in no way a fair document. You get no trial by a jury of your peers, just the judgment of some cruel being. It should be clear to any person that has read both documents that there is no connection between them. They're almost completely opposite. I know that I'm starting to sound like a broken record talking about the Reason Rally, but this is why events like the Reason Rally are so important, and why it's so important to put our politicians on the spot and expose their bullshit for what it really is. If people like Rick Santorum were to take control of the government and successfully rewrite history, our entire system of government would be in jeopardy. We would have no protection from the government coming to our homes and arresting us on trumped-up charges of witchcraft or heresy. We'd have no right to speak out against the theocracy that they want to create, and we would be reduced to second-class citizens. Maybe it's time to start thinking about doing more Reason Rallies in state capitals all over the country. Anytime that our elected officials start favoring faith over logic, we need to be there to send the message that we will not allow them to push these laws down our throat without showing the world what they're doing. Till next time, YouTube, one love.
You can buy sweet Madonna, dressed in rhinestones, resting on a pedestal of Avalon.